So, Rob and Rikki, thanks for joining us today. We're here to talk about Kenya Kids International, which is the charity that you have founded and that you've been running as a powerful duo now for how many years?
7 years.
7 years now. And, so we are very privileged to be associated with Kenya Kids International. So this interview is for the benefit mostly of the 130 or so members of the Ability Consultants team. And a lot of people have asked me about Kenya Kids International and why in particular we support your organisation. And I just want to at the outset say from myself, why that is. Okay, so we're a community, we're a team of people, and we are inspired by the opportunity to help people to grow. We help people with disabilities and their families and their teams live a better quality of life. We believe that every human has the dignity and the right to have the least restrictive, the most freedom in their life that they could possibly achieve, and part of what we do is resource teams and families and individuals to pursue a less punishing and more supportive way of life. And in the end, we're educators. And one of the things we do internally as a team is we're always educating ourselves and we're always educating each other. So the spirit of Ability Consultants is essentially that we're about education, and we're about, I guess, gratefully sharing the privilege of our knowledge and our individual blessings with others that are in a tougher spot than us. So coming from that point of view, when I met you at Mullumbimby Presbyterian Church 12 months ago, and learned about what you were doing, it felt like we had to do something to support you guys in what you're up to. That's what this I suppose conversation is about, and I'm going to try and stop talking and let you guys talk because you've got a very interesting story to tell. And one of the things that I'm most fascinated about with you, Rikki, is that you're you've been a professional artist through your career. How has that helped you in your mission to make life better for people?
I don't know if directly my art did that, but I worked for World Vision for a number of years. So I was an artist there, and I think that gave me an awareness of needs in the overseas. And I also have a talent with photography. So when we did go overseas and we came to this particular community, Golomok Primary School in Kenya, I was able to use that gift and talent that I had to record the need that I saw there and bring it home, and then could show people actually what it was really like over there and the suffering of the poor. So I guess that's the connection for me.
Yeah. The interesting thing is that when we came back from Kenya in 2012, we just got on with life and didn't really think too much about this particular community. But it was something that really stayed in my heart. And it was 3 years after we got home that I said to Rikki, I can't get the needs of these kids out of my head. And Rikki said, well, let's do something about it. Why don't you write to the school and see how we can help? So we did that. And I didn't have an email address at that time, and it took 3 months to get an answer, maybe 4 months, I think, to get an answer from the school. And yeah, they would welcome our help. And they gave me a list of needs as long as your arm.
Right.
So we looked at that and we talked about it. And what we were conscious of was that the school was so poor the teachers didn't even have a chair to sit on.
Mm.
And we decided, well, let's buy some tables and chairs for the teachers to encourage them before we do anything. And that's how it started.
Yeah.
But after we'd helped get some resources for the school, then we got a request to help with a community water project because thieves had stolen the solar panels and the community couldn't draw water from the underground spring. So then we helped with that.
Yep.
And at some stage, Rikki said to me, listen, this is a bottomless pit. We could spend all our money on buying things that they need, but at the end of the day, the situation hasn't really changed. Let's do something that will have a lasting benefit, that will have a lasting change on this community. Let's sponsor bright, needy students to go on with their education.
Got it.
So we contacted the principal, and he was enthusiastic about that. And this little bird wants a drink of coffee. And he resolved to select 6 bright, needy students that we could sponsor. Now, I was excited about this, so I was telling my friends and people I met at church about what we were doing.
Yep.
And before the new school started, I had 6 people that wanted to sponsor these students.
Wow.
And we thought, wow, if other people are going to get involved, we should formalise the arrangements. Let's form a charity.
Yep.
And that's how Kenya Kids International came into being.
Well, that's why I resonate with you, Rob and Rikki, because Ability Consultants was the similar thing. I only really envisaged serving a client or maybe a dozen clients myself. And we now serve hundreds and hundreds of clients and they've got a big team, and it wasn't a grand vision at the beginning. It just seemed that there was a bottomless need.
Yeah.
And then I like you, I do believe there's a higher spirit running this universe, and I feel like things have sort of fallen into place, and I've been useful enough in my own little way in playing a part in that bigger pattern, you know.
Yeah.
So fast forwarding to 2023, just give me some idea of the scope of what you guys are doing now.
A lot of our work has been through education, because we just saw that education, if you're educated, you can come out of poverty. And we wanted to make that change and give that opportunity. So we sponsored these bright, needy students who would not be able to, parents would not be able to afford to put them through high school. And so we just continued to do that. And as Rob said, that 6 people came on board. Well, that happened a number of times where, okay, we said to the group over there, well, we've got 6 sponsors, we can sponsor another 6 next year.
Yep.
And then that the same thing happened. We had now 12 people that wanted to sponsor. And so it just grew like that. But now I've forgotten your question.
Well, that's okay. I remember.
You remember the question?
We have been able to sponsor through Kenya Kids International a total of 56 bright, needy kids to go on with their education. And currently we have 36 students at secondary school and 6 at university. And we're going to see our first student graduate from university in December this year, which is tremendously exciting and very satisfying. And Sarah was one of the first 6 students that we sponsored. And she's a bright Kenyan woman, no longer a girl. And she's taken the hard subjects at school. She's taken physics and chemistry and mathematics. And her desire is to be a secondary school teacher.
Got it.
The other thing, what we found was when we actually went into the homes of these students, looking at their families, we started to realise that there were needs within the family. And so we started up what was called a special needs program. Just to give you an example of that, we went into one home and of a sponsored student, and we always ask the question. We do a bit of an interview, and we ask the question: are there any challenges, any needs? And the mother then spoke about her 12-year-old son who had epilepsy, and
She didn't know that.
yeah, she did.
Did she?
Yeah.
No.
She'd had it diagnosed when he was 4 years old, and he had never been on treatment. So here's this 12-year-old boy having seizures every day. So they couldn't afford the fund to get him treated. So we organised that, and we followed it up the next following year, and it was such a success story. This boy never had any more seizures. So it was an easy fix. And this is what we find when we're over there, is they are so poor, they don't go to the doctors, they cannot afford it, don't go to the hospital. They will go pretty much when they're at death's door, and that's what happens, they die. And so we instituted the special needs program so that we not just meet the need of the student, but we also look at that whole family to see what their needs are. Another one was, there was this family, a very large family, a family of 8, and they lived in this very small mud hut.
Yeah, maybe 10 feet, 3 metres by 3 metres in size.
Yeah, and I don't know, was it about $500 or something like that
awesome.
to build something, another one, you know, and
A bigger one.
what we were sponsoring this, I think he was around 13, 14-year-old boy, and in their culture, the boy, when their puberty, they need to move out of the home and sleep separately. They don't sleep with their sisters and their parents anymore. So culturally, it was difficult for them. So we talked to the sponsor actually, and explained the situation, and the sponsors saw the need was real, and they came to the party and they provided the funds for a second dwelling.
So education is at the core of it, and you know, you may say 50 students have gone through your program, but then they have these family of maybe 8 people around them, and then they have a whole community of people around them, and every successful graduate might be a teacher, an engineer, a nurse, a doctor.
Correct.
And these are people that might have otherwise been gifted kids who never got a chance to do those things and help their community.
That's right.
And every bit of effort you've put into this has had such a huge impact on so many other valuable human beings who are scraping by and often on death's door medically.
Yeah.
Look, they are so grateful. In their culture, it's a monoculture, so you just help someone in your clan. So for them to hear of an organisation overseas, people coming in, like during COVID, we supported all our sponsored families with grain. And one student wrote back, and a parent had said, "Who are these people?" Because it was so foreign for someone to be helped by someone that does not know you in their culture. Anyway, this boy, he's graduated from high school, and his mother, he was living with his grandmother, and this was the family, and his grandmother was so grateful. She actually, before she died, she had dedicated an acre for KKI. Now, an acre from his out of 6 acres. And he came and he told us that, for me, on my heart is, they're so poor, I don't want to take that acre.
Right.
But it was the sentiment. It was the gratefulness that they felt, because they are so poor and they're just so grateful.
So is this the acre that you are now?
No,
we haven't. We've actually rented 2 acres of land And our work is in an area next to Lake Victoria, and this land belongs to the local Catholic Mission Hospital, and they've rented the land to us for 5 years. And our goal, or our plan, had been to establish an education and training centre on this land. That was back in the beginning of 2020 when we had previously been in Kenya. But we came home and COVID struck.
Mm.
So for 2 years we were unable to travel to Kenya during COVID. And then the next year, last year, each of us had serious health issues. So it's only in the last 8 weeks that we've been able to go back to Kenya. And what we discovered when we got there, we had rented the land to a local farmer to grow vegetables. And without our knowledge, he had planted bananas. And the entire 2 acres is covered in banana plants. So that's sort of altered our view of what the land can be used for now.
Sure.
But we have a committee in Kenya that we work with, a committee of volunteers who help implement our program, and they're very keen to use that land to generate income to help pay for some of the projects that we're running. And that's what's going to happen later this year. The farmer has been given 3 months' notice to quit the land. He's agreed to do that. So in August, our local committee will take responsibility and start to generate income for themselves rather than relying on money from overseas. And this is the basis of another program we've established, which is called our First Fruits program, which is a microfinance program helping widows and families to improve their income. And we do that by offering interest-free loans to purchase products that they can sell at the local markets, or we provide them with a female goat to breed from. And it doesn't sound like very much, but you know, one of the first recipients of that goat used it to breed more goats. She then sold those goats, and with the money she could afford to send her child to secondary school. And she said to us, you know, without that help, my daughter would not have gone to secondary school.
That's absolutely wonderful. So your mission, of course, is to, well, ultimately save souls, right? But education is probably the pragmatic lever for that.
Yeah.
You can't save souls if people are in abject poverty and scraping for survival.
I think I could summarise that by saying our vision as an organisation is to help lift people out of poverty in that area by giving them the skills and the knowledge to care for themselves.
Got it. And education allows people to lift themselves out of poverty, right. and that's a lever that then is people fishermen rather than just eating fish.
Exactly.
So that all makes total sense to me. But how is it that two modest Aussies like yourself had this, I guess, audacious vision to do all this on another continent?
Well, we never had that vision.
Right.
We didn't plan it.
We were just going on a holiday, 3-month backpacking holiday, and come home and that's it.
Yeah.
So I think it's when Rob, and we went back to life as it was. It was a wonderful experience. But when Rob, after a couple of years, said to me, I can't get this school out of my mind, well, I sort of knew that there was something more.
Yeah.
There was something going on there. So he did what he did, and the rest is sort of history. But, our faith is part of what it is. And we responded to a need, but we just felt there was a higher meaning in it all, that just it wasn't by chance. And we went for it. We never intended to. People our age go on cruises, luxury cruises. We don't go to these places where there's no hot water, no running water even, no internet, patchy patchy electricity, uncomfortable. It's all uncomfortable, you know. It
Limited
really
food.
is. It's yeah.
Limited food, a hard bed, a hard pillow, hard seats to sit on. One of the things we talked about while we were there was, won't it be wonderful to go home where we've got a soft sofa to sink into at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. So that's
So,
that's
yes,
how you do it. You basically you're just open to guidance from
I think
God.
so. Yeah, we're open to that guidance, and we believed that it was the right thing to do.
Yep.
I mean,
The
for
right
me,
thing.
yeah, for me, it was harder than Rob because I got diarrhea all the time, just about every second day.
Wow.
I had diarrhea. This is in the early days, and we weren't in control of the food that we ate. We were staying somewhere else. And I said to Rob when we got back, I said, I'm never going to go back again.
Too hard.
And I was so serious. It was too hard. And I told my best friend, never going to go back there. No, it's too hard. And Rob, you can go. He was going to go. You can go. But I didn't feel comfortable he would go on his own. And we organised a friend, to go with him. And he pulled out at the last minute. And then I was conflicted. My love for him. I didn't feel comfortable that he should go on his own. So I went with him.
But what did you say before you went?
Whatever you want to do, honey, I will not complain. That's what I said.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, we went there, and we went back to the school, and we saw the feeding program, and I caught the vision. I just saw what a little amount of money could do for so many.
Got it.
And I caught that vision, and by the time I came home, I was 180-degree change.
Yeah.
And I could, we had 15 acres, I could just let that go.
Yep.
I saw that we needed a smaller property so we can just lock up and go. So,
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So your relationship's a big part of this too. Having that lovely partnership, that bond that you guys have got.
Yeah, definitely.
It's the core of it, isn't it?
Definitely.
We've been married, I think, 36 or 37 years this year, and for us, life has always been an adventure.
Yeah.
We've been fortunate to do lots of travel.
Yeah.
We've been in very difficult situations together overseas. I guess one of the most challenging was when we travelled to visit a missionary friend in West Papua, and apart from the long flight via Indonesia to get to West Papua, when we landed on the coast there, we then had to travel by dugout canoe with an outboard motor on the back for 8 hours until we got to our drop-off spot, and then we had to hike through the jungle for 2 days to reach our friend.
Wow.
So that's just one of many adventures we've shared, and I really think if we didn't have such a strong bond and a strong relationship, a lot of those challenges would have undone us, definitely.
I have trouble taking my family camping at a campground up the road.
Yeah.
So I've got a bit of work to do on my marriage, and yeah, fair enough. But yeah. So look, there's so much to learn. You've got the microfinance program. You've got obviously the sponsorship program for people to get through their education. You've got the
special needs
program.
Yeah, and we have a feeding program at the primary school.
That's right, because people are hungry and they're not going to learn that well at school if that's the case, right?
Absolutely.
Best meal of their day can be at school.
And the other thing that piggybacked on the First Fruits program, we became aware that the people lacked knowledge of how to run their little cottage industry. So we linked in with a Kenyan organisation that have a business program called 5,000 Plus. So we put them all in there, and anyone else, we'd invited other people that were poor to come and be trained and to look at what abilities and talents that they already had and what resources they already had and how they could use that and make that into a business. So that was another.
There's a very interesting story to do with 5,000 Plus. The program was initiated by an English couple, and they subsequently passed over the control of that to a Kenyan guy. And the guy in charge of that program went through one of their first training programs, which is all based on the principle of look at what you have, what you don't have. And he looked around and he thought, well, what have I got? I've got a gum tree there. What can I do with that? So he harvested the seeds from the gum tree and he planted out those gum trees. And when they went to seed, he harvested more seeds. And over a period of years, he developed a timber industry whereby he was selling the trees that he had grown as timber to local businesses and to people who needed timber to either burn or to use in building. So I thought that was a wonderful example of somebody not looking for a handout, but looking to themselves and their own situation of what do I have that I can use. So that's a principle we want to include in everything we do, that people look at what they do have, their own knowledge and experience or resources, no matter how simple. Another story from the 5,000 plus program was a woman who looked around and what did she have? She only had one item of furniture, a table. So she sold that table and then she bought some products and sold those at the market, made a profit, bought more products and continued to do that over a period of years until she became self-sufficient as a trader.
Got it. So you're leaving people with more economic, academic, and pragmatic, survival skills and resources.
Yeah, that's right.
And you really are seeing a big difference.
Absolutely.
And you've just come back from Kenya.
Yes.
Yeah.
And how many of your sponsored students were you able to connect with face to face over that time?
There's 36 of them, but we would have connected with most of them.
Mostly, including the uni students, because before we got to the project site, we went and visited each of our uni students at their universities, except for one student who came to see us in Nairobi. But that was a great opportunity and a real encouragement to the students. We tend to go to Kenya during the school holidays for secondary school.
Yep.
And of course the uni students are still studying. So we haven't been for 3 years, but the first thing we did was go and visit our uni students and they were incredibly
amazing,
grateful.
Yeah, they're very grateful. And for us too, it was a bit of a learning thing too, how they live.
Yeah.
We support them, we give them living expenses and rent, but it's very modest. They go to the university and they will share with someone. And this one student, she shares with a friend.
Yep.
And they share the bed. So the bed is not much wider than a single bed.
Wow.
And they sleep in there because that's
all.
what they do,
That's all they've
not
got.
unusual. And there's a nail on the wall and we've got some bags. They're into bags, so they've got all their bags hanging on that one nail and some clothes on another nail, that kind of thing. And in the corner would be their kitchen. I don't know what size do you think their room is. It's
probably about those girls. It was probably about 4 metres by 3 metres, I'd say, in size.
So in the corner they've got their
a little gas burner.
I didn't share for the gas burner.
That's their kitchen.
Yeah.
But one boy we went to see, Vincent, he's studying to be a secondary school teacher, and he lives in very simple accommodation. Thanks, I will. And we said to him, well, where's your university and how do you get there? And he told us where the uni was, and he said, I walk to university. And we said, well, how long does it take you to walk to university? He said 1.5 hours. So morning and night, Vincent would walk to university 1.5 hours in order to study. And on top of that, he only eats breakfast and dinner because the living allowance we're able to provide is limited. But I don't think any of our students were as enthusiastic about their situation
That's
or as grateful.
Yeah, he was really happy about it. He loved the walk. It was his time to. There was a lot of vegetation on the way to school, and hear the birds, and he just really
Yeah.
enjoyed that time. So, it's not a burden to them. If
Mm.
if we had uni students that were having to walk for an hour and a half,
They wouldn't
or
get there.
have to share their bed, a single bed with someone else, I mean, there'd be a huge complaint. They wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
So this is there a spirit of gratitude permeating the whole?
Very much so.
Enormously.
Very much so.
Enormously.
And individual students have said from their experience of being sponsored, their heart is in the future when they do get a job, they want to help others. They want to help another student.
Yeah.
That is often a comment that they
Yeah.
make. So it's made a real impact on them.
That's right.
Mm.
And part of the program is to develop a relationship between the student and their sponsor.
Yeah.
So students must supply their examination results from term examinations and they're required to write 3 letters a year to their sponsor. So each time they get an examination result, they write to their sponsor. And a number of the students have said how encouraged they are to be able to write to somebody in Australia who is interested in them and wants the best for them.
It actually motivates them. Yeah. Because it is just so foreign for them.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like quite a big operation that you're running, right? And I think you're working pretty much full time, the both of you, to sort of keep things ticking over. You know?
Yeah.
And that to be running a big operation but still be able to meet face to face with the people that you're serving is a real a rarity, you know. And the fact that, I guess, as you say, you're sowing seeds of gratitude and this momentum of giving that you're starting, it's bigger than we can imagine. You know?
Yeah.
And I love it that so Emma and I sponsor one of your students. I love it that what we do, it gets to the person, not just the money, but you get to the person too. You know, and you know that's something that will be harder and harder to do the more and more you do it. And you've recently hired an employee. Is that your first employee?
Yes.
Yeah. We've employed a social worker in Kenya whose main responsibility is to be the student care worker to meet the needs of the students. Things like purchasing textbooks, paying school fees, helping them with their accommodation or medical treatment or issues impacting on their education. So this man is very experienced. We spent our last 2 weeks in Kenya working with him, and we were very impressed in his professionalism and his ability. So that's taken a huge load off our shoulders. Trying to manage everything with a committee of volunteers hasn't always gone smoothly, but to have a professional person and giving them the responsibility has been a wonderful gift for us, and we're just so grateful to the people who are providing his salary and employment costs. You know, when I talk to people about Kenya Kids and the work we do, one of the things that a lot of people really like is that we're a small organisation, and up until now there's been no paid staff at all. I mean, Rikki and I do our bit on a voluntary basis, as do the other members of the board. And this is the only wage that is coming out of the donations that come to Kenya Kids. And people like that, because a big organisation inevitably has overheads that it can't avoid. But staying small for us has been a bonus.
Yeah, and you've employed somebody in the community
Yes,
That's
as
right.
well, which is,
Yeah.
again helping the community.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
from his immediate family of a wife and 4 kids, spreading out into wherever he spends his wages.
Yeah,
Yeah.
magic.
Mm.
And you know, maybe one day one of your students will come back with a social work degree.
Maybe.
Yeah.
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 And speaking of that, we're a team of 100 plus social workers, psychologists, disability professionals. Is there any opportunity to volunteer or to visit Kenya and
Absolutely.
contribute to what you're doing over there?
Absolutely. We actually, the treasurer of our board and his wife had planned and booked their tickets like us to go to Kenya in 2021, but because of COVID, we're unable to go. We have had one sponsor come with us, and as a result, he and his wife are now sponsoring more kids because he was so impressed with what he saw. So we're very open to that idea of people travelling with us. I have to say that it's not an easy journey. From Australia to our projects involves more than 30 hours of travelling and waiting in airports, and it's tiring. And the conditions are very different to Australia once you're there. But anybody with a heart for adventure, I'd encourage them to come.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. Well, look, there's so much more I could ask you, but I think that gives us a bit of a taste anyway
Right.
of two very admirable people, you know,
Thank you.
doing good things for other people.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, David, it wouldn't be possible unless we had people like yourself who are prepared to support us
Yeah.
financially.
Correct.
So
Mm.
we owe you a debt of gratitude as well.
Well, I can't take all the credit, but that's fair enough. Well, thanks for talking with me, Rob and Rikki.
Okay.
Good,
It's been a
thank
real
you.
honour.
All right. Bye.